On max settings, the feel for the game is smooth without many FPS drops. It doesn't feel that responsive, and I'd only recommend using these settings if you only want to enjoy the game for its looks and not for its gameplay, as this unresponsiveness could get worse when in more built up areas or near other players. However, with the render distance on max, you can see buildings and players in the distance with far more detail. So if we have a look at the FPS that I'm getting, it's kind of expected at around 50 to 60 FPS with minimal stutter. You can see that the 1660 Super being used up close to 100%, which shows that Rust has been heavily optimized over the past few updates. So say if you want the game to look pretty good but have higher FPS and less stutter while still getting an advantage in terms of being able to see people clearly and far away, then these settings are probably your best option. The game does feel smoother with less lag, however the worst shadows are noticeable and look very bad in certain areas where the shadows look like they're just squares. This would be made worse on a higher resolution monitor. In the last 10 seconds you might have noticed the poor shadows, but just to let you see them clearer, this frame and this frame both show that they can look awful at certain times. And so, with the FPS monitor turned on, you can see an average of about 80 FPS and tiny amounts of stutter. The 1660 is being used much less, and there's a lot less stress on the processor. So say if you want to be a sweaty Rust gamer and want the max FPS with the lowest settings and stretch res, then you'll need a very good processor for any effect to take place. I have an i7-7700 which runs any game, however, the feeling of the game stays the same as the previous settings. It still feels pretty smooth, but it doesn't feel near 144 FPS. And if we have a look at the stats, I was wrong. It felt the same as when we were on 80 FPS, but now we're on 90 to 100 FPS. However, I would not sacrifice this much just to get a smooth 100 FPS. I would much rather play on max settings with shadows turned down to get 70 to 80 FPS, which I recommend for you to do if you have this game and a GTX 1660 Super. Thank you for watching. Less than 2% of everyone watching is subscribed, so please feel free to like and subscribe.